Welcome to the Rocket Roof Show, where we equip fellow roofers to do more commercial business every first and third Thursday of the month. It's time to launch your business to the next level.
This is Project Command. Stand by at power transfer.
3, 2, 1, blast off!
Hey there, welcome back to another episode of the Rocket Roof Show. I'm your host, Andy Neer, owner and CEO of Empire Roofing Contractors in Michigan. And I host this show here to educate and equip roofing contractors in the commercial roofing industry. And so I've been really trying to bring some great people on the show here to give practical tips and advice on in commercial roofing. And so here today I have Wally Brown, who hails from the great state of Illinois. And I don't want to screw it up, so I'm gonna give you a moment to give yourself a bio and introduce yourself. Before you do that, I want to just tell my listeners, if this is something you feel like you can get value out of, or somebody else would get value out of, take a moment right now and share this page, share it to a group or maybe your own page, and that'll help other people to be able to jump on this since it's a live video. And so go ahead and introduce yourself, Wally, and kind of give where you've been, how you got to where you're at today, what you're doing now, and what you're passionate about.
All right, Andy, thanks for having me on, and any of the listeners, thanks for tuning in. So, Andy said my name's Wally Brown. How I got to where I'm at today. I mean, I look back, it's kind of been a long road. I started roofing high school, picking up the ground, probably like a lot of guys out there did. Slowly worked my way up to getting on a crew, worked my way up to being foreman. Actually, I worked for a union contractor for about 18 years. I live about an hour and a half out of Chicago, west of Chicago, so we're kind of worked around the area here. I was a member of Local 11 for about 18 years. Actually, me and my foreman went into business for ourselves, had our own business for 5-6 years. I think we talked a little about this, Andy. I jumped off the roof one day, blew my knee and said I was done. And, I like to say, guys have been in this long enough. If you've ever got out of roofing, and I'd like to ask anybody, maybe I got out for actually a year and it actually sucked me back in. So it's kind of like the mafia, too much, you can't get out.
Yep.
And I've worked for a major manufacturer now. I've been here going on to be my 15th year now as a I'm working at a manufacturer. Started out doing roof inspections for them. Now my official job title, I'll be called something next week, what is my official job title? Senior Single Ply Commercial Installation Specialist. But
okay.
And that covers a gamut. I do training, I do job starts, I do troubleshooting, I work with our marketing and R&D departments. So kind of do a little bit of everything. And I like to caution guys if they're hearing this thinking, man, this guy thinks he knows it all. No, I don't. Okay. But I just want all the listeners out there to know that I started probably doing what a lot of guys out there are doing today. I didn't learn this out of a book, and I do not know it all. I'm not trying to come off like that. So that's kind of me in a nutshell.
Okay, awesome. So what I wanted to bring you on today was because we've done a couple of previous interviews, and I wanted to pick your brain a little bit about how guys can save money on particularly labor and production and all the processes that are involved in, getting the roof done. And so I've got a few different categories that I'm going to talk to you about and see, from years experience where guys can actually have some cost savings. Now, some guys might be like, well, I've already done this and I've already done that. But we have a lot of guys that are new that I come across, and I'm in this category too, where I'm like, I just don't know how long it takes to tear off 2 layers of mod bit and a layer of hot and stuff like this. And so we're going to go over a few different categories here where you can kind of explain how we can plan ahead and how we can do some labor savings. And so
and that's a good jumping off point, because we do a lot of trainings. We have a lot of residential crews that want to step into the commercial world, and I like to even ask the viewers, if I'm not gonna be able to see the responses, but I would ask them what, you have a bad day in a residential job, and I'll just throw a number out there. It might cost you $10,000. Okay. Say you roofed the wrong house or whatever, strange things have happened. That's a tough pill to swallow, but you could probably make it through it. You have a bad day in commercial, it'll run your butt out of business in a heartbeat. So
it magnifies.
And I'm not trying to scare anybody that way, but I mean, it's a true fact. And I've had people come up, like we do a 3-day training, and after the first day, I've had several people come up and say, this is not my wheelhouse. We didn't think it was that it looks easy. So that's one big thing to think about. Like staging a job is a big thing.
Let's start there. Let's start at staging.
Yeah, you've been on, how many times you've seen different companies, they load all the material in one area and then they tear off, and then they're moving this stuff 2, 3, 4, 5 times to get to the end of the job. You got to have foreman kind of thinks outside the box. All the manufacturers, all the suppliers, they have all kinds of these cards. Like, and I'll give you an example. Like you order ISO, so many pieces in a bunk, so, I had to learn the hard way, just like everybody else did. If we're going to tear off 30 squares, I know I could have my supplier, if I have a crane, I can set 30 squares of insulation in front of me or wherever I need to. Take a piece, an orange marking paint. Guys, this is as far as we're tearing off today. I'm going to load another 30 squares over here, so we're not moving material. That's a big thing.
Mm-hmm.
Easily moving material. It's a waste of time. Stage your material where you guys can get to it.
Mm-hmm.
Look at, if you're going to look at the roof, there's different ways to roof a box, how you lay up your sheet. My big thing when I talk about training is eliminating hand welding. You're not going to eliminate it all, but there's ways to utilize that robotic machine. Because when we're hand welding, we're human, we're going to make mistakes. A robot is a robot. Now, granted, you put crappy information to it, you're going to get a crappy weld, but ways to eliminate the manual labor of hand welding. That's another thing. I mean, I could just keep going on and on how to set these jobs up, but when it comes to tearing a roof off, every job's going to be different. What's the experience of your crew? How much can you take in a day and get covered up? So,
yeah, I have a guy that lives up by me. He doesn't get on social media, but he's an old school guy. But he's kind of got his numbers down where he has his key 5 or 6 guys. He knows pretty good, how much they can take off and install in a day. I can't remember off the top of my head, but I think he's like 20 square for 4 to 5 guys, tear off, lay insulation board down and membrane. Maybe not all welded, but he kind of has some numbers that he can go back to for bidding to know like where I need to be per day.
So you just brought up a good point and just jogged my memory here. So you said 20 squares, maybe not all welded. That's another big thing. Guys temping stuff in. They take too much, or because if you're new to this, these TPO rolls 10 or 12 by 100. That's 10 or 12 squares at a shot. That's a lot of roof. Okay. Mm-hmm. Well, pretty soon you come upon a unit. Well, let's get that tomorrow. We'll just temp it in tonight. Well, then the next section, you got 2 more units. Well, we'll get them the next. Well, now you're at the end of the job. Now you're going back. When you start to go back, you temp details in, and I did the same thing. Trust me, I did it. You start temping stuff in. That just opens a whole Pandora box of things that can go wrong. Now you're going to go back and reflash all these things that you let go. Do you want to get? We'll get to the next day. Well, now you're talking about cleaning membrane. And again, I'll ask any estimator out there that does a job. What do you have in a job for cleaning? Most guys tell me, I got rags and cleaner. It's the labor they don't have figured out. And that labor will eat you alive. You got to go back and start cleaning stuff. And the other thing is you start cleaning material and welding it, it just doesn't seem to probe out as well. That's another big thing. And I preach on this. Complete details as you go. Do not fall into that trap. We'll get it tomorrow. And it just shakes my head that guys don't, it doesn't register with them.
So I didn't prep you for this. I'm going to throw you some curveballs here.
Throw away. Setting
up cranes. So I've had several guys call me and ask me about, hey, fairly new to this, and since I've been doing it too long, and I haven't done a lot of buildings where I've needed to use cranes. Guy was asking me the other day. He's got a 6-story building, and it didn't occur to him that a supplier might not be able to reach up 6 stories. And you probably get, of course, when people hear crane, they're like, "Ooh, big dollars." But for what you're saving, and the amount of time that crane's going to be there, and if you got to plan ahead, right? Like you can't have your crane guy sitting there for 2 days twiddling his thumb. So speak a little bit about your experience with crane and how you can save money.
Did you know Andy Neer has been using Top Roof Marketing for the commercial roofing division of his business for more than 3 years? If you're not happy with the results you're getting or haven't looked into all the ways out there to grow your commercial business, take a look at toproofmarketing.com. They can show you solid data to back up the proven strategies they use to get their clients more commercial business year after year.
Another thing to think about is permits. You got to get a crane in there. You have to block off traffic.
Yeah.
Access to the building. Where am I going to set that crane up? How am I going to schedule my material to show up on a job site? You don't want it all there at once. Can you stage it and have the crane come in at a certain time when your material gets there? And exactly what you said, the guy didn't figure a crane. Well, maybe we can just pull the material, tear it off, and put it in wheelbarrows and dump it. Well, we just did a test job not too long ago, and the guys were actually doing. They were tearing it off, picking material up, and their dumpsters weren't there on time.
Yeah.
They got to order dumpsters. So now they're dumping it on the roof. They're handling the stuff 2, 3, 4 times. Labor, it just goes through the roof, and any profit you made, it just goes right out the window.
Yep.
And you got to have guys qualified to signal the crane. I've been on jobs that had a helicopter load. That's a whole other ballgame there.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, you got that downdraft. So, yeah, that's another big thing. Like I said, you could do plenty of shows out of that.
Yep. So, and then one more would be gravel removal. There's a lot of guys that they are not even aware that they have gravel vac machines.
Right.
And so, can you just hit on a couple points here for how to plan on gravel removal?
I worked for a contractor in our gravel. And again, they had vacuums out there, but he thought it was too expensive. So he was paying 4 or 5 guys with a power broom to broom it up, in windrows. And if you've ever run one of those, you can only go so far. Then we'd come behind them with scoop shovels and wheelbarrows. And we're on a 3,000 square job. You get to the middle of that job, you got to take it to the edge of the building. Plus it kills your guys. You're exactly right. Those roof vacs, they're expensive, but again, it's the labor thing.
Yeah.
And it's got to be up to the guy to put the pencil to it.
I was just going to say, don't you think a lot of roofers, they're just too lazy or they already have a preconceived notion it's going to be too expensive. I'll just go with a gut feeling. Roof vac's too expensive. Labor's cheap, but they don't really do the numbers.
Exactly.
To prove it.
Just like details, and kind of lost my train of thought here, but yet the old guys, well, we never had to have a roof vac before. And I grew up in that generation. We've got to think smarter. We got a lot of younger guys in the trade now. Do they really want to be roofers? I don't know. It's getting tougher, not just the roofing industry. Every trade out there is getting harder and harder to find qualified help.
Yeah.
If a guy his first week on a job, he's tearing off pitch and he's hauling it 3 or 4 times. It's going to turn him off in a heartbeat.
Right. And I get a lot of guys, and maybe this isn't I don't know if I wasn't planning on saying this, but I see a lot more guys that are going to social media to say, how do I price this? And how do I price that? And what's the per square price? And I don't know what your opinion is on this, but first of all, you might be talking to a guy that's in a completely different demographic than you. Miami compared to country and countryside in Michigan, or New York compared to Denver. Like, first of all, your prices aren't going to be the same. Second of all, you don't know the guy that's on the other side of that comment. Whether he's had 1 year of experience or 20 years experience, and you're taking his advice on what you should price. So I always tell guys, like, social media is a good place to get some information, but please, when you're doing an estimate, make sure you're getting your information from the right places, not just online.
Right. And it gets back to the point of, this looks easy. Especially again, I don't mean to pick on residential crews, but I've seen it time and time again because it looks easy. You're kicking out 10 squares. What could be so hard? Now I got to weld it. What's the big deal? And, I've seen guys bid off, 100, 200, 500 square jobs that have never done a single ply membrane before. And they get into it and it'll destroy you. Again, my advice, if you're new to this, start small.
Mm-hmm.
There's 25 squares. Get your guys good at it. Do one thing. The industry today is changing. The technologies out there is just amazes me at times when I step back and look at what we used to do, how we're doing things today. There's so many different technologies out there. Get good at one, baby steps before you can walk, run. Then start trying to do something else. So,
and I think this is a good point to bring up. You just said new technology, and we're actually talking about labor, money and labor savings when you're doing an installation. Kind of want to bring up Rhino Bond. We've done a couple Rhino Bond jobs, not a ton. I would say we're nowhere near close to being experts at it, but it has its place. And it talk to me about what you've seen, guys. Have they found labor savings using Rhino Bond? Places they shouldn't have used it where they did.
Right. Well, it's not an end-all cure-all. It's just another bullet in your gun, to do something. Again, you gotta look at roofing a box differently. And I'll give you a prime example. You can integrate, you can mix systems. Now, you gotta check with your manufacturer, okay? And I'll give you an example. You've done mechanically attached before, right?
Yep.
Half sheets you got to have on a job, right?
Yep.
If you want a Rhino Bond machine, I would never do another half sheet.
Mm-hmm.
I hate it. Take twice as much time. There's ways to integrate that Rhino Bond system into a mechanically attached system by eliminating those half sheets.
Yep.
By utilizing fingers. Because back in the day before we had Rhino Bond, we drop fingers and strip it in. Well, think about this. Figure out where your half sheets are. Drop your Rhino Bond plates on your insulation. Zap the Rhino Bond plate. You just eliminated half sheets.
So explain to me what fingers are. That's a new term that I'm not familiar with.
Well, fingers are utilizing. You run a half sheet all the way around the building.
Yes.
Well, back before we had Rhino Bond, and FM doesn't recognize the attachment of half sheets, so you have to go perpendicular to the metal deck. So if you think about it, your field sheets run opposite of your roof deck. Well, two of those half sheets are running with the roof deck.
Yep.
And without getting too long, you're actually point loading that system. So fingers back. What you do is you drop screws and plates in the full 10-footer, the width of your half sheet, and you actually strip it in.
Okay.
Still have your attachment on the perimeter, if you follow me.
Yep.
But most of the times that gets done at the end of the job, and now you're poking holes through perfectly good membrane. So stop and think, if I've got a Rhino Bond machine, why not put them underneath? I still have an attachment.
Yep.
This varies from manufacturer to manufacturer.
Yep.
So Rhino Bond is a different workflow. And I don't know, I'll ask you, do you like change? Do you embrace it like you should?
No.
No, I hate it. I'll drag my feet. But once I get there, I'm good to go. And most guys are, it's too slow. My guys aren't used to doing that. Sure, because they've never done it. And I'll guarantee you, and I've seen this happen time and time again, if you ever try Rhino Bond, say I want to try it. If you don't get somebody out there from the manufacturer or the OMG rep, or whatever Rhino Bond system you're doing, to show you how to utilize that machine, how to lay your sheets up different, you will hate it because you're going to lose your butt on it. So it's just a different workflow. Yep.
So I don't want to spend too much time on that, but it is an option that you can use for labor savings. And so there's some other positive upsides of it too, but I would encourage you to watch some videos, and they'll explain in the videos different things you can do. Accessories. Let's talk a moment about accessories and different things guys can do to plan ahead. And a lot of this is planning, right? I mean, we're talking about labor savings, but it's really you're saving the labor not by swinging the hammer faster or drilling faster. It's the planning ahead of time to make sure that you're doing things. So what can we do to save some money in accessories?
So, and you're probably going to hear it. Well, a lot of guys are, they're just doing what the front office tells them. So a lot of us will have to go to the estimating department. You got a good estimator. He's got 10 curbs on the roof. Okay, I need X amount of corners. And back when I first started, we didn't have all the accessories. We had to make everything out of a roll of unsupported. Now, I think that's a dying art, field wrapping. There's not a lot of, I shouldn't say a lot of guys. There's fewer and fewer guys that are coming up that know how to field wrap, which it's a good thing and bad thing. Because if you're ever stuck on a job or a repair and you don't have an accessory, you don't know how to field wrap, you're kind of SOL. But field wrapping versus accessories, there's a couple reasons. Granted, they're more expensive, but again, they're saving labor. If you get a new guy that can't field wrap or not very good, might take him, say on a curb, might take him 20 minutes to do a corner. times 4, that's 80 minutes. Okay. You give him a outside corner that he can weld halfway decent, might cut that time in half. Doesn't sound like a lot, but calculate it over time of the job. Again, the costs are more expensive. The other thing, building owners, we can all agree that building owners probably don't know a lot about roofing. They want it to look pretty, right? They're paying tens of thousands of dollars. So, Andy, you field wrap 2 corners on a curb, and I use an accessory. There's nothing wrong with that. But the building owner is going to say, how come that looks different than that? So that corner is going to look the same here as it does over there as it does over there.
Yeah.
It's just the speed and expediting things to get it done a little quicker.
And there's also a hybrid between those two, right? So I see some companies that are actually, they prefab custom made stuff if you send them in the measurements.
Right. And everybody's kind of, there's certain accessories you can do that with. Again, manufacturer to manufacturer. I know one instance we use a quarter curb wrap, which you can actually, it's got the corner already on it, and all you do is fill in the middle and the sides. Well, the manufacturer I work for, we can actually weld everything together. You know the exact size curb, slip it over. You can damn near run your robot all the way around that. Again, we're eliminating that hand welding.
Yep. So
that's the reason.
Okay.
A big thing.
Okay. Let's talk about housekeeping. I know we know that housekeeping saves time because of you're not tripping over stuff and you're finding stuff. I'm not the greatest at housekeeping, but talk to us about what different things we can do in housekeeping that's actually going to save us a lot of time in the long run.
Well, housekeeping usually, and I hate to say this, but if I go to a contractor shop, you look around his yard, you look in his shop, and it's a mess. Odds are that's going to translate to the same thing on the roof. You got to take a little pride in me personally. Take a little pride in what your building looks like, what your shop looks like. That'll translate into what your guys are doing on the roof. Safety, that's another thing. You get on the roof, you got crap blowing all along the roof. I mean, you got stuff blowing, it's going to punch holes in your brand new roof, or guys are just throwing crap, and God forbid something blows off the roof and hits somebody. You can end up with a really big lawsuit. So yeah, housekeeping's a big thing. And I've walked up on jobs. You just look around, you can just see you got material left wide open, which is money. Like the Rhinobond plate we were talking about. I've walked up on jobs and guys used half a bucket of Rhinobond plates, and it rains, and now they're all wet. Those plates are 40 cents a piece, 50 cents a piece roughly.
Mm-hmm.
They're wet, they're useless. Now you got to dry each one out. So you can just think a guy's going to take this rag and go dry all that bucket of plates out one at a time. So again, tarp stuff, insulation gets wet. Guys put it down, then 2 years later, they're calling, hey, your insulation sucks, it's bowing. Would you leave it? No, we had a tarp. Of course we did. Yeah. So again, big thing. Housekeeping is a big thing to save money.
Yeah. Early on, we had some issues with, little pieces of single ply. Guys are cutting them and, leave a piece of TPO here and TPO there. And because it's white and it's laying on white, you get ready, you leave for the day. And then you find out the building owner's like, hey, that stuff blew off and landed. We had one that they landed on a lower mechanical unit. And, they're like, can you keep your site a little bit cleaner? And it's so much easier just to take 10 minutes at the end of the day.
Yeah. And
clean it up.
Once you get a building owner starting a little bit of stuff starting to complain, it seems just to compound things with the building owner. You got crap all over his yard. Well, now next thing, the guy dropped something in my secretary's car. Now it's just going to start ratcheting things up. He's going to start looking at you a lot closer. Usually it goes south,
Well, this one had a little piece of membrane, 24 by 24, landed on the unit down on the ground, and it must have had a sensor on it because this was a pharmaceutical lab. And the sensor made the engine shut down, and he's like, hey, what's going on? You guys got to make sure to keep this clean. So you never know how sensitive the job site is that, you could cause something to shut down of the customers. And it would have just taken 5 or 10 minutes for my guys to clean that section up. We learned from that episode. Luckily, it didn't cost us anything. But,
you brought that up, and I don't know how much time we got here, but I'd really like to share this story. A guy I work with tells us we do our training. They were on a job, and guys were plugging their heat guns and stuff into the HVAC units on the roof. Well, they plugged too many in and blew a fuse. Well, he didn't say anything to the guy was running the job. Well, this HVAC unit was an air handler, and it was a pharmaceutical company, which was a a dry room, an air pressured room for like bacteria and all this crap. Well, that's shut down. And nobody said anything. Pretty soon, a couple hours later, the manager of the building come up and was just screaming bloody murder. What is going on? You guys don't realize what's down below here. Had they not caught that in time, you're talking several $1 million worth of damage.
Now, let me ask you a question. Can that be prevented on the front end with the salesman or the estimator to say, hey, since we're going to be working in this vicinity, what other things should we be aware about? Should we be aware of if, power to shut off? Is there anything sensitive inside?
Yep.
You could
Very
catch
good,
that
very
stuff,
good
right?
point. And I highly recommend guys do not plug into any rooftop unit because you don't know what it's running. Just for that, stay away from it. Get a generator, stay away from it because you plug in something like a heat gun or a robot. I've seen guys get in the box and rewire their robot into the friggin' box on the roof. Well, if that unit kicks on, it's drawing juice from whatever you're running off of, and you don't realize that. Weld up 1,000 squares and something's going on with your machine. It's gonna, roll. We got problems.
Yep. So let's go to the next category I'm talking about is production. So there's probably 1,000 ways. We're not going to touch on them all, but whether you're working with a 3-man crew, some people work with a small 3-man crew, all the way up to 12-man crew. What are some different ways that people can cut down labor in just production? Whether it's equipment or putting people in the right positions, staging them.
So some guys may like to hear me say this, and some guys don't. I think if you have a foreman on a roof, he shouldn't be working. You hire a foreman to run that job.
Yep.
Because every time that foreman puts his head down to do something, the guys around him, what are they doing? God only knows what. That foreman should be, he should be, getting things ready for the next day. How much are we going to tear off? Staging material, making sure everybody's doing what they're doing. And the other thing is, you got to have, I could go on and on about this.
Yeah.
A lot of times guys will take their best detailer and make him a foreman. He may not be suited for that job.
Right.
Maybe he doesn't want the job. Maybe he's just attracted by the more money. So, and again, production gets back to, don't take off more than you can chew. Finish things as you go. I mean.
Yeah. So one thing that I've always kind of rubbed me the wrong way over the years, and I know a lot of guys listening to this are going to say this is common sense, but when you get a guy that steps into the foreman position or he's the manager, is waiting until he runs out of something before he's like, hey, I need another bucket of screws.
Right.
Instead of saying, well, you didn't know that 4 hours ago.
Right.
You at the beginning of the day or in the middle of the day, you should have taken an assessment of, okay, where am I at? What am I going to need? So that, the office or whoever can order that and have it ready, because I know it's not going to get here in an hour. So I think that's another thing that I've struggled with in the past, making sure those guys are groomed to, like you said, if he's not wearing a tool belt and he's foreman, he's not working.
That's what he's there for. He's there to drive that job. Yeah.
Plan ahead.
And another, you know what? I see a lot of successful crews. They got good foremans. The guys that work under them, they're working up that ladder. They're not stuck doing, if they want it. And I see this a lot. You got a good foreman, you got good guys underneath them. They're grooming these guys to maybe take his job someday, or maybe he doesn't want that. He wants to stay for him. Maybe those guys slowly work their way up to that front office. Again, that's something that, I said it earlier that, we got younger guys coming into this. We got to groom them for, we're not getting any younger.
Mm-hmm.
It's a young man's game. So you get a foreman that's all he's doing is screaming and yelling at you. That's the old way. I mean, somehow I made it through it. I'm sure you probably made it through it that way too.
Yeah.
I don't think that's the right way anymore.
Well, maybe it's not the right way or the wrong way, but it's not the way that you're going to speak to or inspire this next generation. And I think we have to get through that in our heads that the younger generation is different, but they're our future.
And you got to be thick-skinned in this job, because if you've got feelings that get hurt with, you're not going to last long.
Yep.
it's a tight rope to walk,
Yep. And I think there's another problem in the roofing industry is that I see a lot of guys, they don't want to train the next guy because
No.
they don't want him to take his job.
When I first got in the union, that's the way it was. When before I came, them journeymen didn't want it because they were scared to lose their job.
Mm-hmm.
And I had to learn on my own. I had to teach myself how to weld. Nobody was going to show me that until I think it gets to a point in time. If you're there long enough, you will get recognized. Hey, this guy's trying. We're going to try and bump him up, whether it's $1 more or whatever, or what. Hey, here's a company truck, take home every night. That always went out. When I got my first company truck, I was like, man, that's cool. I get to drive the truck home. So.
Yep. Next one is safety. Now, before I get into this, we're going to both say that we're not by any means OSHA officials or anything like that, nor do we play one on TV. So I want to talk about, because there are some labor savings that you can do. We all know that when we're out there, we're bidding jobs, we want our people to stay safe. But it's always in the back of our mind, am I bidding against another couple companies that aren't following safety? I mean, they're going to get the job done a lot faster, but at what expense? They're not using safety. So we want to make sure that we are keeping our guys safe. We're staying within the guidelines, but there is a point where you can be excessive in your safety where it's going to make you you're going to be overpriced. It's going
to hamper what you try and get done. Yeah.
Yeah. So talk to me about, flags and using a safety monitor and I'm going to put a disclaimer here. Some of the tips you might give, they're going to vary state by state. There's a federal OSHA, but make sure that you check with your local OSHA guy. I would even say so much to even have a voluntary OSHA visit or whatever, go to a class. But tell me some things that guys can save for implementing safety, but still being able to do it cost effectively.
Well, the first thing, if you're doing I'll give you, a nasty ass tariff on a job that's, the roof's been on for 30 or 40, 50 years, the first thing you better do is go look inside. If you can see inside, for any deck replacement you may have to be doing. And most importantly, if somebody's going to walk in it and fall through. Again, this comes where if you got the front office sends you a job, you know what you're going to do. The foreman needs to get out there before anything starts. Walk that job. Okay, where can I put my safety flags? How much are we going to take? Do we got any deck replacement? Can I get the material off, any tear off the roof safely, ordering off the ground area? Am I going to need, a supervisor to watch my guys when they work? How many flags do we got to put up? The crane thing, that's, how, I'm craning material off the roof. How big of an area do I got to rope off? And I was actually on unfortunate where I was actually on a job where a guy actually fell 15 stories and got killed. I thought it was my boss, and I'll never forget it. Went down the stairs, the guy had false teeth. I remember seeing his teeth laying there. His head was really flat. I'll never forget that. And then I was just like a young guy, safety. Who needs that crap? It took me a while to realize that could have been me or one of my best friends. So
yeah, we
all want to go home at night. There really is no reason to skip safety, but I understand what you're saying. Joe Blow in the pickup truck on the ladder, he's not using the ropes, but he's beating me all these jobs. This is where, you guys have all heard it. You got to go in the building owner. Hey, what's this guy doing for your safety? Because the building owner's got to realize that he's liable for that too.
Mm-hmm.
Because he can sue him for everything he has. I'm not an OSHA certified guy. I've always relied on a safety officer to do that stuff for us. But the company I work for, their safety is number one. We've been asked not to go to jobs before because safety wasn't there.
Yep. And once guys get a little bit more comfortable using it, some jobs we've had to use a retractable lanyard because some of the decking was pretty rotten, and we just wanted to make sure they went home safe. And when you get a retractable lanyard and these guys are out working with it, they can actually work a little bit faster because they feel more comfortable that they are safe, and they're not having to worry about moving their lanyard all the time. And so there is a certain amount of, okay, I feel more comfortable with the safety I have, so I can work faster.
Right. This country, I've been to Canada. You think we got it tough for safety? Canada's a whole other ballgame up there.
Huh.
There's no warning. It's an automatic $500 fine they don't give you a warning for not having a ladder set up right. I mean, they just start finding. They can I think it's 3 fines up there. You are no longer allowed to do commercial jobs. Don't hold me to that, guys that live in Canada. That's what I recall, because I wanted to go up there and actually do. I work in Canada. I had to go through the safety course up there.
Okay. So let's talk a little bit about training. So I know a lot of roofers, they hate training, because when you're training, usually you're not making money. I mean, I'm not talking about your boss sending you to training. I'm talking as a boss. A lot of times we're the ones that dictate whether we're going to take training or not. And I know as an owner, that's an investment. You're like, okay, my guys are going to be gone for a couple days or 3 days, or maybe we're going to have somebody come in and do I pay my guys? That you're not making money at that point in time, but it's an investment. So talk to me about training and what it could be. Doesn't matter if it's safety training, installation training, whatever it is, but it's an investment in the front end, just like going to college, right? So talk to me about how about how training is really in our benefit.
Well, and it gets back to this. I think you kind of touched on there a little bit. Well, we've been doing this enough. We don't need training. In my opinion, those are the guys that need it. Again, nobody likes change. Everybody's got their set ways how they do things. Nobody wants to. You should never stop learning. Again, we talked about a little bit ago the changing technologies in this industry. You've got to keep up on that if you want to stay competitive. Training, again, you're installing a better roof for your client. You're eliminating callbacks. You can always learn something. Just because I put a corner on a certain way, you might do it a different way. It doesn't really matter. The whole aspect, am I doing it correctly? Am I going to stop that from leaking? Everybody hand welds different. You can stand on your head as long as you get a spec weld. Big one is, I hear these guys, I think that's how we got this rolling. We were talking on how these guys set up their robots. Some guys, and I've went up on jobs, the guys run a robot. I said, well, how do you know how to set speed and temp? Well, I don't know. It's how they gave it to me. So, and the misconception is most of these machines, let's run as high as we go, as fast as we go, get the job, get the hell out of here and get paid. And that's when they're going to come back to bite you in the butt. You've got to, in my personal opinion, you've got to train guys. Like you said, it's an investment. And I think if you've got guys coming up that, if you're my boss, you're willing to send me to school to teach me, I'm probably going to be a little more loyal to you, because you're actually helping me learn this trade a little better. And you've got to have an open mind. We talked about not liking change, right? It took me a while to do this. You got to start, I don't need to learn that. Yeah, you do. You need to learn. Just because you've been doing something 30 years, I'm not saying you're doing it wrong. Maybe there are better ways you can do it right. I guess that's what I'm trying to look for.
So what do you recommend? You recommend taking a 3 or 4 foot sheet of scrap membrane and doing a test weld on it and pulling it apart and every morning and what's your routine?
If I'm an owner and I walk up on the roof and say, hey, Andy, how's things going? Pretty good. Well, hey, where's my test welds? I didn't feel like doing them today. You are no longer my foreman. You're on the ground picking up trash in a truck going home. That's my opinion. Okay. Test welds on a robot are non-negotiable. Now you're going to get responses, I guarantee. We don't need them. Well, that's fine. You do what you want to do. In my opinion, those should be done every day. And depending on the time of the year, where you're at in the country, you might have to do them 2 or 3 times a day. You get a big temperature swing, you better recalibrate not only your robot, your ride-about machines, even your handguns once in a while. Hand welding and robot welding, a little different things when you start calibrating, because everybody's going to hand weld a little different. As long as you get a spec weld. A robot, again, that's a machine. That'll give you, if you get that, it'll give you a fairly consistent weld every time over a wide range of temperatures. Now, certain manufacturers have a little wider range than others, but you have to be aware of that. And just because you're doing one manufacturer and you jump to another manufacturer, you think that it's going to weld the same, not necessarily the case. I mean, I can weld manufacturer A to manufacturer B all day long, and then take manufacturer C to manufacturer D, whatever the case may be, but they all have their little torques in them. And I hear guys all the time, well, I'll never use manufacturer whatever again. Man, they suck. And I guarantee you, I shouldn't say guarantee you, but odds are if you trace that back why he doesn't like that manufacturer, he's probably put the roof on either improperly, had to go back and done a ton of repairs. if he had done it right, it wouldn't be a problem. Now, all the manufacturers make a good sheet. You guys all know I work for a manufacturer. I understand that. I used to think the same thing. Man, they're tweaking their formula. They're doing this. Oh, no, they're not. It's just they all make a good sheet, and they're all a good quality sheet. A lot of guys are going to disagree with me. If you're used to welding manufacturer A and for 20 years, and all of a sudden they sell you got to do manufacturer, you're not going to like it. It's going to be a little bit different. My big thing of when I tell is welding TPO or PVC is like cooking chicken. What are you talking about, right? So most guys like to run as hot as they go, as fast as they go. So think about it. If I take a thick piece of chicken, I throw it on a grill, cook it hot, cook it fast, what's that middle going to be? It's going to be raw. Same thing with welding. That's my analogy I like to use. You got to find that right speed and temperature, cook it or weld it all the way through. These machines will go 1148 degrees, most of them. You have to weld that hot? No. You can get welds you can get welds at 700, 600, 800 degrees. You don't have to go that hot or that fast. So going fast, that's another safety thing. Most guys, when they're running these robots, they're walking backwards. Well, now you're walking backwards on the roof, which is inherently dangerous. You've got to drag that robot with you. You got to drag the cords with you. You've got other guys on the roof with corded equipment, and you're trying to keep that thing straight. It's just a matter of safety thing. The safety is another one, right? You start calibrating machines and they're working too fast or whatever the case may be.
Right. Well, that's some good points right there. Appreciate that. Do you save your test welds in the morning for a period of time, or do you just take pictures and archive them?
Well, it all depends. Like when I did inspections, I wanted to see your hand welds. If I didn't see your hand welds, I'm going to start probing a little harder at your work. I may cut into them. Remember, the manufacturer's carrying that warranty, okay? They actually have that right to go cut into your roof. I've seen things on websites where manufacturers don't require that. Every manufacturer I know of requires a test weld. The inspectors want to see it. Now, the architect may want to see it. The specifier may want to see it. And a lot of guys, they'll take their samples. They'll write the day, the temperature, what time, the speed and heat of the robot, and they'll put it in a little file, keep it in a job box, and they'll bring it back to the office, and it stays with the job file. And I've had some guys actually do the cut. They'll take their sample welds, and they'll actually tack them to the roof right next to where they made that cut, put the patch on, and it'll be there for the life of the roof. So, yeah, definitely hang on to those test welds. I had one guy told me, you got your test welds? He handed them to me. He never pulled them apart. So it was like a 500 square job, and I grabbed them. They just kind of went apart. I said, what do you want to do with this? Well, now he's got to strip in everything on the roof. And it's so little time to do. 15 minutes in the morning, 15 minutes after lunch. It doesn't take that long to do.
Right.
Well, I don't need to do it. I can't argue with it.
Right. Okay. Well, I think that covers a lot of stuff. I mean, the only one I didn't hit was ordering, but I don't know if there's something you can mention on ordering. Sometimes you can save a lot of time just by ordering one extra accessory in case you get a faulty one, or an extra bucket of screws in case you mismeasure.
And I think you kind of pinned out earlier is the guy that's ordering the material. The guy in the front office, the estimator. They need to get out. They can't. I wouldn't trust a Google view of a roof. I mean, that's me. I want to get my boots up there. I want to count everything. And the foreman, hey, I'm short a bucket of screws. Well, he needs to be lit in on that information too, because he knows how many he's got, how many he's going to run short. Yeah, order a couple extra. You'll use them on the next job, or if you got a repair crew, they'll use them up. Yep.
Okay, well, I think we're running long here a little bit today, but a lot of good info in there for guys that might be just new or starting, or want to get a little bit better at planning and saving a few bucks on production and stuff. I always like to ask my guests, what's one or good tips that you can get, practical tip that they can start Monday morning. Maybe it's a common error that you see guys make that I know you see a lot of the comments that are on our Commercial Roofers United group. Right. What's one practical tip you think a guy could implement?
I would say, to the comments that I see, and I don't know if I should go down this road, but I mean, you got new guys. we're trying to bring new guys up, guys. I mean, guy asks, you may consider a stupid question. Maybe he's looking for some good advice. You know, maybe he doesn't want to seem like he's looking for advice. Don't shut him down. I mean, I'm not trying to say be nice to the guy, but be a little more courteous. I know that's probably not going to happen, but I guess, I don't know, I'll get off that. But I'd say train your guys, man. It's going to work out for you in the long run. I mean, you got to have good quality people up there. That's probably my biggest thing, my biggest, training guys. And I think I told you earlier that I've been doing this a long time and I don't know it all, but if I can teach a guy one thing when I do training, I've done my job. I'm paying it forward. I know it sounds corny, but that's what I really feel. Yep.
And I think it's great that, now, we didn't have this 10 or 15 years ago. Now we have a platform, social media, primarily Facebook, but instead of going on there and asking 7,000 guys, if you've been on there any length of time, you can usually say, ask, who would I talk to learn about this or that or the other thing. After a while, you start to realize who the experts are, and I would say, don't feel afraid to reach out to that person on a personal message.
Oh yeah.
And say, hey, I'm doing this. And I think a lot of roofers, they don't feel comfortable doing that. They just want to ask on a post and get 50 different answers.
To the same question.
Yeah. And instead of just asking a guy, say, oh, I'm going to private message Wally, or I'm going to private message Chris or James. And because I see he's, fairly intelligent and he's level-headed and if he doesn't know, and I tell this guy, I don't have all the answers to all the questions. So if I don't know your answer, I will say, well, I don't know the answer to that question, but let me give you to a guy that does know the answer to that question. But most guys don't go down that road.
Yeah, I've had a lot of guys, ask me questions, and I'll just say, hey, message me, and I'll do what I can for it. I just got a call last week from a guy, and it's kind of nice. They're appreciative, and I'm just trying to steer you down the right road, buddy. I'm not trying to make any money off you.
Yep.
I want to see you do good. I want to see everybody do good,
Yep. Okay, cool. Well, I think that wraps everything up. So appreciate you coming on the show today. And I liked having you. I'll probably have to do it again. I think you and I even talked about maybe doing a show on the roof.
That'd be great.
At some point in time, maybe talking about actually running some pieces of equipment or seeing something hands-on. I think that would be really awesome. So we're going to talk more about that in the future. So
that'd be awesome. Love to do it.
Okay. Well, thanks for being on. And
thanks for having me, Andy.
Yeah, you're welcome. And so once again, as if you're listening to this show, like and share it. Help us to grow our page, and we'll see if we can make a positive impact on the commercial roofing industry. So
be safe, guys. Yeah, stay safe.
Stay safe.
You've been listening to the Rocket Roof Show podcast. Be sure to subscribe through your favorite podcasting platforms such as iTunes or Google Play to get the latest episodes as they are launched. For more, please follow us on social media or visit our website at rocketroofshow.com. We look forward to joining you here again soon at the next launch.